We want to communicate that all human beings learn and evolve and develop in their own ways. They have unique learning dynamics. They have unique learning disabilities and unique learning capacities and habitual ways that they learn or don't learn. And that they, through learning, solve problems or transform their world or create, co-create in the world and manifest their futures and their experiences. Now that can be we can have intellectual methods of learning, emotional learning, spiritual learning, kinesthetic, tactile, and energetic and intuitive learning. And those aren't the only kinds of learning. And we're just listing a few. And those modes of learning are often driven by passion or strong emotion, whether positive or negative emotion, rewards of various kinds, potential money, glamour, attention, status, control, safety, or attainment of betterness or specialness or superiority or some authoritative entitled right to control others because we supposedly have learned more than they have or know better than they do, or our way of learning is better than their way of learning. We're also motivated by social value, relational value, to learn different things, and an attainment of acceptance and avoidance of abandonment, lack, loss, or pain, or just by a generation of self-esteem. We would suggest that these are all valid modes of learning, and we'd also suggest that we can learn consciously and intentionally anything simply because we choose to, not because we're motivated by any of these other motivations, which are all beneficial and valid motivations, and each of them limits what we learn. They define or determine what we focus on, what we value, what we prioritize, what we embody, what we make decisions from as an information or data set. What we think is right or feel is right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, safe or unsafe, appropriate or inappropriate. The process of learning can occur through conscious collaboration and through conscious, single-pointed, willful, intentional process. It's a choice, and it is something that you can develop. We're developing it within the team of teams, new dynamics of learning, new dynamics of applying what we learn, and thus new dynamics of solving problems, new dynamics of generating solutions in the world, new dynamics of generating realities in the world, new dynamics of generating a sustainable future for humanity. So a lot of things that people don't want to hear in our world. They don't want to hear or feel that we've been doing it wrong, either as individuals or collectives, or that we created climate change, or that we've got the power to solve climate change, because we don't want to recognize how powerful we actually are. We must face our fears of change and the ending of the previously supposedly known. What we supposedly have learned or recognized to be true in the past is not the truth of the present or the future. If we can gracefully let go of the known, then we won't fear the ending of the known, and thus we can embrace and accept the new future, a reality or experience or life process or possibility. We must fundamentally change as individuals and as a species. People don't want to hear that. A lot of them don't. And it must occur now and continually on into the future. Some people don't want to hear that we must choose conscious wisdom and action in conscious determined union in order to transform the world. And still we do, even though they don't want to hear it, even though it hurts to hear it, even though it's the breaking of the shell that encloses their understanding to hear it and to realize it and accept it, still it's true. They don't want to hear that we are not who and what we thought we were or believed we were. We thought we were Americans or Russians or Chinese people or people who were Arab people or Christian people or old people or young people or male people or female people. We are souls. We are equals. We are all worthy. We are lovable. We must be willing to let go of who we have imagined ourselves to be and identified ourselves to be in the past in order to accept ourselves as unconditionally lovable and to accept everyone else as unconditionally lovable and equal. And a lot of folks don't want to hear that. They may not want to hear that we need to help, and we need to be willing to ask for help. We need to help others, and we need to be willing to ask for help. If you don't ask, you don't get. Nobody can ask for you, and not, at least not from the vantage point of understanding you as well as you understand yourself. The squeaky wheel gets the grease in our world, so it's good to squeak. They may not want to know that we must be willing to risk if we are going to evolve and transform, that if we're going to build a beautiful, wonderful future for our future generations, and if we're going to care for the world and heal the natural world and be conscious, wise stewards of that future world. And they may not want to hear that we must now choose to learn and trust and have faith in each other. That's a little scary. We've not done that before. We've not made that our first highest priority in the past. And we really need to. Because if we don't learn to trust each other and depend upon each other and collaborate with each other and have faith in each other, then we are likely to continue to compete and fear each other and distrust each other and remain divided, remain wounded, remain projecting our pain onto others, and remain disempowered to solve our collective issues and problems globally in regard to climate change. So in the past, this is a very simple cycle here. This describes kind of how we got into our current situation. This seemingly endless cycle of wanting and having what we want, getting, acquiring, and consuming and feeding upon what we want, and by doing so, creating the world we live in. So we've been driven by fear and pain and wanting and perceived need, and trying to fulfill that perceived wanting or need or fear and pain. And the process of fulfilling what we want has driven us to build cities, develop computers, technology, diesel engines, jet engines, all of the current adaptive technologies, including polluting plastics, rubber, the carbon producing concrete and steel that we make our buildings and cars and other structures out of. So if we are constantly trying to fulfill what we want and imagine that we need, not that we truly need, we don't truly need 500 cable channels, and we may feel that we absolutely need 500 cable channels and we can't do without them. So the new standard of need, defined need, is really just escalating want, escalating feed on having what we want, or escalating feeding on having what we want. So climate change is driven by this insatiable, fear-driven, wanting addiction that humanity has and is magnified by our current adaptive technologies. So we just wanted to ensure that we had communicated this simple cycle to the world so that it will be understood, so that we can break the addiction. We can make this process conscious rather than it running in unconscious dynamics on and on and on for, forever. And so that we'll learn to not be driven by fear and pain and imagined lack or need or want. And we can start to make choices wisely and consciously and caringly and lovingly. And we can say, not just what's in it for us, we can say what's in it for the ecosystem, what's going to be in it for the planet. Whenever we create a new solution, how is this going to make the planet healed? How is it going to clean up the water? How is it going to clean up the air? How is it going to bring forests back? How is it going to bring back species that are on the verge of extinction? How can this solution do that? Because that conscious focus will transcend this simple, profound, dysfunctional cycle.